Mistakes that home buyers make, particularly the young home buyers, the millennials, the Gen Zs. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to talk about these misconceptions or mistakes that home buyers make, but we're also going to talk about ways or strategies which we can do to mitigate or eliminate those in their entirety. Hey, and if you stick around for the end of the video, also going to share with you when is the best time to buy a home and the reasons why. If you are thinking about transitioning into the Kansas City real estate market and you want to know everything there is about living in Kansas City, then subscribe to my channel. Simply tap on the bell below so you'll be the first to receive changes that are taking place in the Kansas City real estate market. My name is Chris Pucci and I'm with the Living in Kansas City real estate team, and we get calls from folks like you all the time. So whether you're moving in 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 months, feel free to reach out. I can be contacted via text, phone, email, or better yet, at your convenience, schedule a Zoom call. Look, there's nothing I'd like more than to help you make that smooth transition into the Kansas City area. Let's talk about some of the more common misconceptions or mistakes that buyers, particularly young buyers, make when trying to purchase a home. And one of the ones that I think is maybe the most important, I definitely want to start with it, and that has to do with what I call the refinancing dependency. Hey, we're going to have better days ahead where we can refinance. Now, I think this is a pretty risky strategy, and I do know that this is a very popular strategy with Gen Z and millennials. They're banking on the fact that interest rates are going to actually reduce at some point in the future, the near future, and allow them to reduce their mortgage payment. The first thing I do when I'm talking to someone, my first question is, what have you budgeted for your mortgage payment? And from there, we are going to back into how much house you can buy with that mortgage payment. And from there, we can have a discussion as whether or not we are in a position to increase that, or are we going to just stay there, and that's the kind of homes that we're going to look at. Here's what you have to keep in mind when you decide that, hey, I'm going to buy a little bit more house because I'm going to be able to refinance. Well, interest rates from the 1970s to now, the average interest rate was 7.7%. That's almost 8%. Right now, interest rates are around 6.5% to 7%, so they're already lower than the average. Now, admittedly, in around 2010 to say 2017, the interest rates were an anomaly. They were extremely low, upper twos, 3% and 4% rates. Probably rates we're never going to see again. In the late 1970s and the early 1980s, the interest rates were double figures. In fact, when I bought my first home, the interest rate was 15%, and I was happy to get that. So here's my point. When we sit down and I talk to a client, we want to talk about what I call a sustainable mortgage payment. By that I mean it allows you to continue to live comfortably in your own home while still maintaining the lifestyle you're accustomed to. You just don't want to be in a position where at the beginning of every month you're stroking that check to the lender and you can't stand it because you can't do anything. The fact that interest rates haven't dropped hasn't allowed you to reduce your mortgage so you could live the lifestyle that you had envisioned. I always stated, it's a gamble to bet on the fact that interest rates are going to go lower just so you can now afford your home in a more comfortable manner. Another item I want to talk about is expectation when you're buying a home versus the reality gap. Believe it or not, 32 to 37% of Gen Z and millennials found that buying a home was a lot more difficult than they had expected. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with they rely on getting their information from the internet, Zillow, YouTube, TikTok. And I'm not saying those aren't good sources, but they're broad brush. It's like one size fits all. The fact is, we're not one size fits all. We're individual people. We have our own stories, our own objectives, aspirations, what we want to see in a home, and things of that nature. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sit down with someone like myself. I'm a lender as well as a realtor, and I'm going to be able to help you understand the process, walk you through the timelines, what kind of cost and fees you might expect, so that I'm going to help you eliminate a lot of the guesswork and the surprises. And that's going to make the home buying process not only a lot easier, but a lot less daunting. Now look, if you have any comments or questions, or you want to set up a time to talk later to discuss your particular situation, simply put in the comment section below and we'll address that. Now, another item or topic I want to talk about, hidden costs and unexpected fees. So when you're buying a home, and if you've never bought a home, there's going to be certain fees that you're going to incur. Simply the buying of the home itself, you're going to be looking at certainly a home inspection fee. This is an expense you definitely want to incur because this is how you're going to determine if the home is really worth buying from a physical standpoint. And then you're going to also incur other fees. So you're going to have an appraisal. And in the appraisal, you may have reinspection fees. You may have a radon fee. And then you're going to have closing costs. So you're going to want to understand all of the different fees that are involved. You're going to understand the timelines. Hey, here's what happens once I get the house under contract. But what do I do prior to getting the house under the contract? Do I talk to the lender first, or do I just go out and look at houses willy-nilly and have no idea what I can afford? So what you really want to do, you want to start with a lender such as myself. We're going to find out what you can afford to buy. We're going to talk about all the nuances of buying a home. So as we're going through the process, you're not going to be caught off guard, and it's going to make the whole idea of buying a home a lot easier. That's the whole goal here, is to educate so you understand the process, and it just makes it so much easier. Speaking of cost and fees, when you're buying a home, if you haven't done your homework and you haven't sat down with a loan officer, you're going to find out there's all these, quote, hidden fees or costs that you weren't anticipating because you weren't aware of them. In fact, 24% of the buyers were surprised at the different fees that were part of the home buying process. And these fees are everything like I mentioned. You're going to have home inspection fees. Maybe you got to get a radon fee, or maybe the house you're buying has some potential structural issues, so now you have to engage a structural engineer. And then we have the closing costs, everything from processing to underwriting to title fees, escrow accounts, all of these types of things you need to know so you can properly budget for them. Another aspect in terms of hidden fees and costs is the fact that 17% of the buyers who are buying a home struggled with the idea of having to budget for repairs. Admittedly, when you rent, yeah, it's great. If the air conditioner goes out or the heater goes out or there's a plumbing issue, you call the landlord and hopefully the landlord comes out and takes care of the repair. But when you own a home, now you're responsible for those repairs. And as though that might sound a little bit frightening, here's the thing. When you rent, you're making the mortgage payment for the landlord, and he gets the benefit of all the equity that you're building up on his behalf. Whereas if you own the house, every time you make that mortgage payment, you're building up equity and it accrues to your benefit. And here's another perk. When your lease would come up for renewal, you could pretty much bet that your rent is going up. But when your anniversary date comes up on your mortgage, your principal and interest doesn't increase. So your house payment, in all probability, is going to remain constant. Now, that's not to say insurance or taxes will go up, but if that's the case, hey, you can always talk to your insurance agent to do things to help mitigate that increase. And if you get a sizable increase in your real estate taxes, you can always appeal. I always help my clients gather all that information so they can make a powerful argument to get their taxes reduced. In fact, I just did that for one of my clients recently. He bought a home, the taxes were awfully high. I got him all the information, we put it into a nice presentation, and he went before the assessor and was able to get the taxes reduced significantly. Speaking of costs, let's talk about the dynamics of the down payment. Now, one of the interesting things is the fact that 14% of Gen Z buyers had to rely on their parents for help with down payment, which was twice the national average. Another tact that buyers are taking is they're exhausting or eliminating their investment portfolio. which is, in my opinion, very risky for a couple of reasons. One, you want some money left to handle things like repairs, or worse, those little curveballs that life tends to send us every once in a while that's going to require us dipping into our savings to handle that particular family emergency. One of the ways that we go about working with our clients is we counsel them on ways to mitigate having to put down a lot of money. There are different loan programs out there. I mean, if you're a veteran, you can buy a house with no money down. But for those of us who aren't veterans, there are different ways to do this. You might be able to qualify for a down payment assistance program. Now, they're a little more expensive in terms of closing costs, but they will give you the down payment. Or there's a loan program called a USDA loan. Now, this is a loan that really is for more rural areas, but even here in the Kansas City metropolitan areas on the outskirts, there are a lot of areas that will qualify for a USDA loan. And this is a great program because they'll give you 100% financing. And like all the other different loan programs that are out there, the seller can pay towards your closing costs. So in a USDA loan or a VA loan or even an FHA loan, sellers can pretty much pay all of your closing costs. So this is going to help mitigate your having to come out of pocket. It's a better utilization of your funds. Another good loan program is FHA. They only require 3.5%. Conventional loans, depending on if you're going Freddie or Fannie, they have a couple of programs where you can put down as little as 3% provided that you can qualify. What we do again is we look at how much money is at your disposal. We figure out how to best utilize that with minimizing the overall cash outlay and still stay within your budget, because these are the things that are going to be very important as we go through the whole process. There's two other items I want to talk about, and one has to do with, I call it the knowledge and confidence gap. So one of the things that we found in this survey is that 11% of the buyers and 15% of the millennials admitted they didn't understand all the terms. It's important if you're going to buy a home, because this is for most of us is going to be our biggest investment. You really need to understand the terms as you're going through the process. So we're going to take time when we meet with our clients to make sure they understand the different aspects of a loan and the process that you're going to undergo. Particularly if you're first-time home buyers, we're going to take a lot of time to make sure you understand what you're getting into. Those of you who have already bought a house or two before, it's not quite as important simply because you already know, but things have changed, so it doesn't hurt to sit down and kind of refresh yourself to make sure you understand what is your obligation as a home buyer once you've purchased a house. And the other item I want to talk about has to do with, I call it buyer motivation. Why are you buying a home? In a survey, 32% of the population felt they were buying a house out of necessity. They were afraid that home prices were going to continue to rise and that they were going to be forced into buying a home. Now, I'm going to tell you, home prices or values have constantly gone up. We did have in 2008, there was a slight rollback of prices, but we not only did we recapture the value we lost during that period, but we've gone well beyond that. Here's the thing. When you're going to buy a house, because this is going to be your biggest investment, you want to do it for the right reasons. Hey, am I buying a house because I want to start a family and I want a place where my kids can play? Or do I want to move because I need to be closer to work? Because it's going to make my life a lot more convenient and less stressful. I don't like commuting to and back over 30, 40, 50 minutes. Or am I buying it for it meets my lifestyle? So when we sit down with a client, we want to understand what is their motivation and make sure that they're buying a house for the right reasons. I did mention at the beginning of the video, when would be the best time to buy a house? Well, there's never a bad time to buy a house, but here in the Kansas City market, the ideal time is from about Thanksgiving to about the first week or so of March. And why do I say that? Because for us, that's really now we've entered into winter, and particularly from January through about the middle of March, where it's really cold out. Maybe we've got a lot of snow, or maybe there's even been some ice, though the street crews do a great job of keeping the streets clean. a lot of people are reluctant to go out and go house hunting. And because of that, yes, there's going to be less inventory, but you're going to have a lot fewer buyers. So what does this mean? Sellers are going to be more willing to negotiate off their asking price, and you're going to have less competition, so you're not going to be in a situation where there's really multiple offers. Because once we move into spring, here's what's going to happen. The same house that you bought, say, in January is going to be now worth 5 or 10 or 15% more than what it was worth back in January, simply because once spring hits, everyone's going to be in the market to buy a house. The inventory, yes, is going to expand, but you're going to be still in situations where you have more demand than supply. So you're talking about multiple offers on homes where people are going to be willing to pay $10,000 or more than the asking price. The best time to buy, where you're going to capture all of that potential equity, is going to be in the winter, where you have less competition. So now that we have a good idea of what the common mistakes are, how to mitigate those, if you have any questions relative to those, feel free to set up a time where we can chat. I can be reached again by phone, text, email, or schedule a Zoom call. All the information is below. If you'll do me a favor, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Oh, and just remember, in addition to being a realtor, I'm a lender, so I am an invaluable resource when it comes to answering your financing questions. Now, if you are contemplating buying a house in another market and you need to get hooked up with a good realtor, please let me know. I'll be happy to refer you to someone in that market. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And until then, I look forward to showing you around the Kansas City market.